I'm super excited to have, well, we actually have the #1 yapper in the entire Polkadot eco, Allison Bob, here with us. He's going to reveal some of his secrets later in the show, so stick around. We have Bill from the Web3 Foundation, Berto from Parity, and also Filippo, who's a technical educator from the Web3 Foundation. And look, this is going to be very impromptu, very casual. The goal here is to answer your questions. So we have a live chat here on the right on our screen. We can see what you're typing. We've also pulled some questions from Twitter that we've been receiving over the last couple of days. We'll go over all of them. If there's still something you're curious about, please ask it in the chat, and we'll do our best. Please keep it, PG-13 in there. Nothing out of bounds, please. Let's all play nice. No trolling. And we might even have a special guest drop by, I'm hearing, halfway through. So we'll see. But with that, I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Bill Laboon from the Web3 Foundation. And I'm going to pull up on my screen here a little presentation. Let's see. Here we go. So Bill, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I saw this tweet and I wanted to make sure I answered it. What does Polkadot even do? I heard they offer dev services or some shit like that. So what is Polkadot? Just in a nutshell, it does not offer dev services or some shit like that, but rather it is a relay chain, which is one central chain whose basic job is to support, secure, and allow interoperability between a bunch of other chains. And so the Polkadot ecosystem is not a single blockchain. Like the idea is that we have essentially the model that Ethereum has been working towards has been something that's been internally built into Polkadot since its creation. So there are 45 parachains, as we call them, what you might call an L2, like a rollup, that are currently operating on Polkadot, and all of these are standardized, can interact with each other. We have a Polkadot SDK so that more people can also build chains on top of Polkadot.
Cool. Next slide.
Yeah. So people look at the Polkadot chain. So this nice young man here said that Polkadot's averaging 0.1 transactions per second over the month because this person was looking at the relay chain. I think a core idea of Polkadot that I want people to realize as they're looking at statistics, as they're looking at how things work, is that the relay chain, by definition, by design, should not be doing much. All it does is support other chains. That's where the activity is happening. And there really is a lot of other activity happening. It's just not on the relay chain because that's not its job. Okay, so if you go to the next tweet.
I think also just to touch on that as well, Bill, like, as you kind of mentioned before, like Polkadot has kind of built this model from day one that now many other ecosystems and chains are kind of adopting. And I think the main issue we really have here is that a lot of the tooling and like websites that display this data haven't kind of caught up or haven't really like kind of grasped that concept yet of like how Polkadot works. And so that's why I think we see like people go to some TPS metric thing and they look and they see, oh, just Polkadot one line item, but really it's actually like 50 plus line items, right? So I think we have made some pretty interesting tooling and this kind of stuff to show this. So I think, let me see if I can find one as well. But I think, Tommy, you're going to speak as well.
Yeah, just want to mention, I mean, we see this tweet with mentioning point something TPS, but what we actually have shown in December is that Polkadot is the fastest possible network you have right now in Web3. So our sister network, Kusama, which is identical to Polkadot in the technology, made 143,000 transactions per second. And this is basically just the beginning because there is a lot of other optimizations being queued up right now. And from everything we know, this is actually the world record in terms of how fast the network can go. And yeah,
also mentioning that was in production, not just theoretical. Like that was actual transactions, not like, hey, we did some maths and I think we could do 1 million. It's like actual.
And from the top 20 rollups that we have live right now in all of crypto, 10 of them are running on Polkadot.
There's also, like, if you're interested in seeing the live stats of the Polkadot TPS, there's a website you can go to called Polkadot.WTF.
Nice.
Apologies for my cold and Kiwi accent. But yeah, there you go. Then you can see it in real time, right? Which is also maybe interesting.
That's really interesting. Hey guys, before we get too far into all this technical stuff and TPS and this and that, can we just maybe do like a little timeline from 2020, 2021 era? What's sort of been happening since then? What's on the horizon in terms of jam and so on? Maybe just to like level set for everyone and just let people know where we are today.
Yeah, sorry. I know we're a bunch of nerds. We'll tend to like dive down like really deeply, really quickly. But yeah, so just at a very high level. So Polkadot launched in 2020, and parachains, these roll ups essentially on Polkadot went live in 2021. But in the old days, I would say, as I mentioned, we're a bunch of nerds. I know there was some things like the wallets tended to be especially like Polkadot.js, if you've heard of that, they tended to be very, very developer centric. And so a lot of work has been gone into making the developer experience and the user experience nicer with amazing new wallets like Talisman and Nova, removing parachain auctions and allowing core time. We're currently moving to something called Polkadot 2.0, which allows much more flexibility, much more speed, and much more ease of use for developers, as well as moving to this asset and hub, hub and cloud model, where we're going to have smart contracts like natively accessible for users coming into Polkadot. And so this is in the process of going live. The end of Polkadot 2.0 is happening sort of right now. The last bits and pieces are getting deployed. And then the hub is coming a little bit later this year, and then looking forward, we have Jam, which is a real revolutionary, revolutionary as opposed to evolutionary jump in how Polkadot can work. But I think we can maybe talk about that a little bit later.
Okay, so how about I also actually do want to tell the audience a bit about how the sort of landscape looks like in Polkadot in terms of decentralization, because not only is the protocol the most decentralized in terms of the Nakamoto coefficient and so on, but the actual operations of this whole ecosystem are very decentralized. We have the Web3 Foundation that initially set out to build the Polkadot protocol. We had Parity, which is essentially the engineering arm, or like the labs, I guess you could call it. But there was an interesting development maybe a year and a half ago where a lot of entities sort of spun out of Parity, or new entities were welcomed into the ecosystem, and they were either funded through Polkadot's treasury, or they were funded through a grants program called Decentralized Futures. And I think Tommy is probably the best person to maybe speak on just the decentralized nature of Polkadot and what he's been working on with OpenGov Watch and what he hopes to build. So I'll give it the floor to you, Tommy, and maybe you can just touch on some of that.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, let's start off. Why do you even need governance in a blockchain like Polkadot? Well, I think what you can see in Ethereum right now, or in Solana, or in any other ecosystem, is that the decisions about how the network progresses are made by the developers, while the people that have bought the token and that are participating in the network, this is many more people. And so they have very little say in what actually happens. It's basically the developers that have to say. Now, Polkadot does things differently because all the decisions are going through on-chain voting. So that means that everyone who has the DOT token can participate in the decision making. And we saw some very practical examples last year. So for example, when you were transferring tokens, it was costing, 10 cents or something. There was a community initiative to reduce the fees for transferring, for doing a stable coin transfer. And now, thanks to that initiative that went through OpenGov, you can now transact stable coins for less than a cent.
Similarly, 0.004.
0.004 cents. Yeah.
Dollars. But yes, it's very, very cheap.
Yeah, incredible. Lots of other initiatives. We reduced inflation last year thanks to a community initiative. We set up whole programs from community initiatives. So the ambassador program, it's not run by any foundation, not run by any company. It's mandated through Polkadot OpenGov, and it's run by people from the community. It is given funds from Polkadot OpenGov, and all of these community activities are basically being agreed by OpenGov. And what it leads to is that all the stuff that you typically have run by a centralized foundation are taken care of by the whole Polkadot community, all the stakeholders, and we have research, we have software development, we have operating the network, we have business development, we have educating our own talent, all being funded and operated by Polkadot OpenGov. And what it allows Polkadot to do is react very quickly to the demands of the market. So Mythical, it's right after Ethereum, it's the top 2 chain in terms of NFTs. It's a top gaming ecosystem. And Polkadot OpenGov made this partnership with Mythical where they did a token swap of DOT tokens versus MIF tokens. And you can see those things happening in other ecosystems because it's always a centralized foundation that is taking care of this. But here it's the community and it's the stakeholders that are bringing up these initiatives, pushing them forward. And so OpenGov is constantly evolving with whatever the community has in mind.
Got it. Thank you so much, Tommy, for that. And everyone should go follow Tommy on Twitter. He's Alice_und_Bob. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, he's at the top of the Yapper leaderboard, and we'll get to that in a minute. Why don't we go back to some of these questions, though, that we've been seeing across Twitter over the last few days. I'll put them up on the screen here. That's not the next one we want to do, is it? Let's see. No, we were right around, where were we, guys? Help me out here. Where did we stop off?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
This is kind of related to governance. Why don't we take this one, Bill?
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of people know about Polkadot because last year, Alice and Bob's wonderful treasury report of explaining exactly what happens. I love that we are such open and transparent network that everyone can know exactly what's happening because everything happens with on-chain governance, and that goes through and you can see what's happening. So people know we did spend a lot of DOT in the treasury last year on marketing initiatives. So if you go to the next slide, though, I think one thing I want to show is that we sort of learned from that, right? Is that there were a lot of people that were voting on things, and it wasn't exactly a consistent inflow. If you follow that yellow line, you can see essentially we had higher DOT outflows than inflows, but that has really changed over the last year, both from changing how DOT go through this inflation referendum that Tommy mentioned earlier, that we actually said, okay, well, we need more money in the treasury, as well as making like what we call bounties, where there are curators for things. And I think just in general, the community has gotten a lot better at understanding, all right, what is going to be good, what's a useful use of the DOT in the treasury and the other assets in the treasury. We also have stable coins and myth tokens and a couple of other assets as well. And so I think this is really just like the growing pains of the network. Yeah. OpenGov has gotten much more mature. I mean, it's still evolving all the time, but it's also always maturing. Again, thanks really a lot to the work of Tommy here. He does some amazing work, especially with OpenGov.watch.
I think like if you can imagine starting a company with like 5 or 10 or 100 of your friends that are located all around the world, and some from like playing Halo, and some from IRC, and some like from having a coffee, like there's going to be growing pains in anything you do like that. It's a pretty massive undertaking, and again, I think the first kind of in crypto to really take this shape, right? So it's not going to be perfect, but I think the point is that we can like react and learn, and we also have a very awesome community that is engaged and like voting on proposals, and yeah, it's very cool.
Absolutely. I mean, we are in sort of uncharted territories here, right? I mean, operating a globally decentralized network. The OpenGov was really the first of its kind. This massive treasury that attracts a lot of great actors, but sometimes there are some malicious people trying to get their hands on it as well. So this is an experiment of, could nation states be on chain eventually? It's really interesting what's happening here. Let's continue through the presentation, and feel free for anyone to jump in. We also have Filippo here as a technical educator from Web3 Foundation. So Filippo, if anything catches your eye, let us know. Here's a question. Something I was wondering, are Polkadot dynamics shifting to gaming, or do you focus more on AI, since that's becoming prominent? Is Polkadot for everything? I think it's kind of interesting because, one of the biggest gaming brands is actually secured by Polkadot. That's Mythical Games. They have the #1 mobile app in the App Store called NFL Rivals. But the thing is, you don't even know your assets in the game are on chain, and that's how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be seamless. You know, we want all that stuff to be abstracted away. Anyone have anything else to add about gaming or AI?
I think that people need to understand that Polkadot is a platform to build on top of it. So it's not that Polkadot concentrate on one aspect or the others. It's actually people are coming to Polkadot and they're building their own solution. And as you already mentioned, Evan, like we have Mythical Games that is concentrating on gaming. We have also a social media platform, One Frequency. We have another social media platform, Subsocial, and we have Dexes. We have like Hydration. We have like a smart contract platform, Moonbeam, which is basically a copy of Ethereum on Polkadot, A-Star, and many others. On-chain fundraising with Polymech. I mean, there are 50, kind of almost 50 projects on Polkadot, and they cover different value proposition. And it is the whole like idea behind it is that we have use case specific chains, and they can seamlessly. They can interoperate with them, and this is boosting collaboration. And the idea is that you don't reinvent the wheel, but if you want to collaborate with another chain, you can do so. And I think like later on when we're speaking about Gem will improve dramatically the efficiency of this collaboration as well.
Yeah, and we have to consider that Polkadot is founded on the idea of Web3, right? So many people in crypto use the term Web3, but what Web3 means, at least for me, is that the benefits of blockchain technology have a benefit in the real world, in the actual world, with real businesses. So this starts with gaming, entertainment. This can have to do with AI, social, as Filippo managed, or working with governments. And if you look around in the crypto space, not a lot of chains and ecosystems are really focusing on delivering value back into the real world, or not with as much intention as we do. And this is essentially a billion-dollar industry. So we're not just tapping into DeFi, but also into all the other Web3 verticals that are around.
Yeah, for example, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to like tap in with the AI stuff that Polkadot is also like having AI project like Origin Trail and Euroweb. And these are like kind of hot chains. We have seen like a lot of like transactions that have been pushed to Polkadot to be secured by Polkadot. And these are like working with supply chain, they're with real use cases and businesses in the real world, like Swiss National Railways and in the US supply chain. So they're doing also like a great great contribution, and we can see how Web3 can actually help and streamline and make more efficient businesses.
Yeah, and I just wanted to very briefly mention on the topic of gaming also is the .play initiative, which is working, an on-chain initiative that has essentially like DOT allocated to it, that is bringing more games into the ecosystem. And there's actually people like they are working on that, like that is their job, and they're being essentially directed by the chain on to bring more games into the Polkadot ecosystem.
So if you're watching this and you want to make a game, get in touch. That's the plug, I think.
Yes.
All right, let's keep going. We don't want to get too technical in this conversation, but this question does come up quite a lot when Polkadot 2.0. I think if maybe Bill or Philippe wants to touch on it, just tell us the three components in elastic scaling, core time, and async backing. Where are we? When can we expect elastic scaling? And maybe then we can go into Jam. This might be a good segue into Jam too.
Yeah, I'll take this just really quickly.
Yeah.
Async backing essentially reduced block time from 12 seconds to 6 seconds for the rollups parachains in the ecosystem. Core time removed auctions, so there's no more parachain auctions, but rather these parachains can pay either on a per block basis or 1 month chunks to connect to the to the relay chain and be secured by Polkadot. And finally, elastic scaling, which is so those are already, they've been out for months now, async backing almost a year. Elastic scaling is the last part of this, which is essentially saying I want to use more resources of the relay chain to do more stuff on my parachain. So my parachain needs to process a lot of transactions or go down to 2-second blocks instead of 6-second blocks. I can use more computational power from the relay chain. So this is live on Kusama right now. So this, assuming everything works correctly in the near future, that should be going live in the near future. I don't know, very near future. I don't want to say exactly Q1, but
tomorrow, right?
Not definitely not tomorrow. The runtime upgrades, Tommy, as you know very well, have to be voted on by the dot holders to see if we want to do that. So that does take a little bit of time, but that's in the very, very final stages, and that will be the final steps of Polkadot 2.0.
Got it.
I think the best analogy for the elastic scaling too is like, for anyone that's old like me, and you bought a computer back in the day, and you get your CPU with 1 core, and then now we have 2 cores and 4 cores and 36 cores. It's basically like you are performing an operation, playing a game or running an application, and you can essentially just dial in more cores, more CPU cores for your application. As a easier analogy, I think.
Okay, that's great. Let's keep on moving here. Who came up with the name Polkadot? I actually think I know the answer to this. Does anyone else? I'm just curious. Does anyone know?
Yeah.
I've heard Gav mention it on a podcast a while back. So
Yeah.
Bill, let me tell my version, and you tell me if I'm correct.
Yep.
I heard Gav say on a podcast that when he was looking at a Polkadot wallpaper, it's a bunch of dots and there is no center. It's just an infinite pattern, and therefore it's not centralized. It's just sort of infinite, and that was how he came up with the idea. Is that true, or is that just an urban legend?
No, that's what I've heard as well. So
okay. Got it. Okay, well,
I was dancing.
I get that question a lot, so I'm glad you've confirmed it, Bill. Okay, Cato. Okay, so yeah, this is interesting, and this kind of ties in a couple of things. It ties in the crazy marketing spend we had. It ties in governance and bounties and so on. So as Bill touched on earlier, last summer there was a lot of KOLs coming to the treasury and asking for large sums of money, and it just wasn't really quite working out because there was no accountability or oversight. And so a new marketing bounty spun up in November, so just a couple months ago now. And one of the goals of that marketing bounty was to sort of rein in the spend for KOLs and other forms of advertising. And the idea behind this partnership with Cato is that it sort of eliminates the need for middlemen in terms of agencies, right? So now we can just say, here's an unbiased leaderboard that's very transparent. You can see who's on it at any time. It's an algorithm, and no one really quite knows the parameters of the algorithm. So it's very unbiased in that way. But the idea is that we're rewarding people who add high quality content about Polkadot onto Twitter. So for those that are asking, how do you rank on the leaderboard? It's all about consistently creating high quality content. It's weighted towards technical content. And you don't need a lot of followers. So anyone is able to participate. Although you are encouraged to engage with accounts that have a lot of smart followers. So, a smart follower is not a bot with a million, bots following it. A smart follower would be someone like Gavin Wood or Vitalik, for example. People on the inner circle of crypto Twitter. I'm going to just hand over to Tommy because he is the #1 yapper. Do you have any tips for people that want to participate in this new Polkadot yapper leaderboard?
Yeah, I would say pick an area that interests you and try to learn and understand it. So I would say that posts that I've seen in the last 24 hours, these are basically people scratching the surface, right? So that is nice if you have a community and you want to expose them to some ideas. But look at what interests you, try to learn more about that thing, try to engage in conversations with other people from the ecosystem. So maybe not just too shallow commenting just to get engagement, because people will see that, but rather try to really engage with one idea and work on that and try to get an understanding. It helps you. It makes you better because you gain a deep understanding of crypto, which is good for you as a content creator or just as a community guy. It helps you understand everything better and work on the topic and area. And then you will see from the responses what people react to. And yeah, maybe check out the Polkadot forum if you're really interested, or just try out some projects, try out Hydration, or try out Bifrost or Mythical, and then talk about your experience there.
Right. Yeah, and just to add on that, it's sort of like SEO, and Google always tells content creators of web pages, just create high value content and you'll naturally rank high. So that's my best advice to you. Let's go on to the next question then. Let's see here. Oh, that looks like that was the last one. Oh no, here we go. We talked about this, some of the great wallet options, Nova Wallet, Talisman, Subwallet. You definitely have to check those out, especially if you haven't been around the Polkadot ecosystem for a while. Would love to hear your plans to onboard normies. I heard FIFA is coming to Polkadot this summer. Anyone want to touch on that? I mean, if you thought NFL Rivals was big, just wait until FIFA Rivals comes to Polkadot. Anyone want to touch on this one?
I mean, normies. So normies, who is? I would say the people that are actively engaged right now in crypto are the normies. I mean, we are crypto bros in a way, right? So we are interested in either the technology or how to get rich, or sort of be part of this cultural revolution that is happening, right? So for us, we love to try out things, even though they're maybe not done or they're not like polished already. So for us, it's about trying out everything. But then Polkadot itself is built as a platform for businesses and products and blockchains and applications. So a lot of the eventual end users that are using a product that is built on Polkadot will never know that it's built on Polkadot, right? So for example, FIFA Rivals or NFL Rivals or Apache Penguins, they might not know it's built on Polkadot. So the thing that we as Polkadot folks care about is bringing this technology to the masses, bringing it to the small builders that are building stuff at home, trying things out, and also big enterprises that want to get a footing in crypto, and they want to have the best tech stack, they want to have access to assets, and they want to have great interoperability, right? So talking about normies sort of can cloud your mind a little bit, but just think about what businesses and what users are eventually going to use all of the great things that we have in Polkadot.
Also, I kind of think it's. I mean, some people will kill me for saying this, but it's similar to AWS or any sort of like cloud technology where you use Facebook or you use Instagram or you use one of these applications, and behind the scenes it uses technology unbeknown to you, but it works and it's scalable, it's performant. In our case, it's decentralized and censorship resistant. And so it's I think like the future of Web3, in my opinion anyway, is like Tommy said, where you are using an app or using a product or using a service and you don't necessarily know it's using this technology in this behind the scenes, but we have millions of users, or everyone talks about onboarding the next billion, but billions of users using this platform or service, right, which uses Polkadot under the hood.
Right. The analogy I like that I keep hearing is, if you're watching Netflix, you don't care about the underlying infrastructure. You don't care if it's running on AWS data center Berlin 3347 or whatever, right? You just want to watch whatever people are watching these days on Netflix.
What are you watching?
Love Island.
Coincidentally,
I've been watching Severance on Apple TV actually, which is excellent.
Okay. I need to watch this season. Yeah.
And White Lotus coming out soon on HBO too, but that's besides the point.
Okay.
Let's carry on here. So we have a question from Moi about Jam. Can you see my screen? Yes. Someone please explain Jam, the joint accumulate machine, to a 5-year-old, or maybe to a high school student. That's more reasonable, or a college student even. Who wants to take it?
I guess I'll take that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Jam is a little bit complicated to explain, like at a 5-year-old level, especially because I think a lot of the benefits are really, for the developers. Again, like the end goal of all of this is not like something the user is going to see. It's to provide a better experience to the user. So I do need to explain just for 1 second, like why things are difficult sometimes for developers. So essentially, there are two main ways to scale blockchain nowadays. And one is have fewer nodes and one big chain. So this is sort of the Solana approach, or Tron or Binance Smart Chain, where you have one big chain and you need like a couple of really powerful, really closely interlinked computers to build this chain. And the other model is the sharding model, which is what Polkadot follows, and Cosmos and a few other systems. Where you say, okay, I'm going to spread out this work instead of getting like really one really strong horse to get my carriage. I'm going to have a bunch of smaller dogs or something. And the nice thing about this is that scales a lot, but the communication becomes difficult. And so you have like and at some point you simply can't scale. You can't get a bigger horse, but you can always get more dogs up to a certain point. So I realize this analogy is going a little bit a little bit crazy, but the idea is like it makes it easier for the developer, right? It becomes difficult. A single chain is very simple to conceptualize, but it can't scale quite as much as really a sharded mechanism. We have lots of these different blockchains, but then programming where you're interacting with all these different blockchains can be quite difficult. It's a different type of programming, actually, asynchronous versus synchronous. So the idea of Jam is to give you sort of the best of both worlds here, where sort of behind the scenes it can act like a coherent single blockchain, but actually it's spreading this work out, and behind the scenes it'll come up with how it needs to these chains to interact. The second thing is that Jam will enable you to do things other than just blockchains, but still run it in this decentralized way. So you can have other programs that you want to be run, trustlessly, decentralized, other computations that need to be made without like this traditional blockchain paradigm. So again, I realize that's sort of getting deep in the weeds, but again, the point of view from the user, right? At the end, all of this stuff should be abstracted away.
Right.
They shouldn't care about all the technical details of it. The idea is that we make it easier for developers to build stuff that the users want to use.
Right. Super interesting. I like the analogy of the getting more dogs to pull the sled. I like that analogy. I'm going to use that myself from now on. I also, the Jam is a concept out of the Jam paper, which was written by Dr. Gavin Wood. Some people that are maybe new to crypto or new to blockchain might, they might actually not know Gavin, or they've heard of him, but someone tell me who Dr. Gavin Wood is and just how did he come to Polkadot? I'm gonna just pick a person here. Let's go with you, Tommy. Can you give us the whole genesis story of Polkadot real quick? We don't have to go into it too much, but
Yeah,
I think it is good for people to know.
there is a very good interview on the Kusumerian about his backstory. But I would say let's start with Ethereum. So Gavin Wood was I don't know how to best call it, maybe computer scientist. So like a guy that could program and he loves to solve hard problems. And he gets in contact with Vitalik Buterin, who is credited as the founder of Ethereum. And so they and a bunch of other people get together to basically tackle the problem of how can we build Ethereum, how can we build a computer on a blockchain. And so they get together to tackle the problem, and Gavin's specific task was to write the yellow paper. So not the white paper, but the yellow paper. So the white paper explains, this is Ethereum, this is how we plan that it works. And then the yellow paper is much more specific. It's basically the description on a more engineering level, on a deeper level that specifies how does the virtual machine work, how does the programming work, of how can you write the program for the blockchain, the smart contract. And so he's credited, and basically he focused on getting that done. And it was sort of on a weekend where he had a rough prototype together. There's a very famous story. Maybe it took him 2 weeks. The accounts are different. And so this is where they started building also one of the first clients for Ethereum. And then basically the story went from there. They kept adding new technology, inventing new stuff. And then after some time, Gavin was a little bit unhappy that Ethereum was not moving, let's say, fast enough or in the direction Gavin was hoping. And it seems to me that at some point he grew so impatient that he said, okay, let's do it again. If we could invent our blockchain system today in a way that it can interoperate between all the blockchains that are going to be there in the future. So you see the foresight of understanding there is going to be multiple blockchains, and there cannot be one winner because every blockchain has different advantages. So this is where he started starting Polkadot, founding Polkadot, and from there the story started.
And we actually just did a thread on that on our X account, our Twitter account the other day. So if you want a little more details and you want the backstory, go follow us on Polkadot. You probably already are, but okay, moving along. I think we're getting towards the end here. We do have some pretty exciting news from Berto. He's been working on something really, really exciting, actually. Berto, I'm going to let you kind of tease it a bit.
Sure, we can temper the news slightly, but you would have seen, if you were at Decoded last year, Polkadot Decoded, Bjorn announced a simple mobile app that we've been building for some time. We're getting very close to launching it. It's taken a little bit longer than expected, funnily enough. As a quick video, I'll just let it run through. This is basic account registration, showing the home screen and a few of the like quick actions, showing sending assets to someone, like so. You'll notice that there's actually nothing to sign. You just confirm the transaction, which is kind of interesting.
Smooth.
And also the biggest kind of feature is paying with crypto, so you can use DOT and to be confirmed, but I think USDC for launch. So if you're in store at one of these like 1,000 locations in the US, you can just basically press pay, select the brand, put in the amount, and you get a code to scan in the store, which is quite nice. Which means you can have custody of your assets up until the final point of actually paying for the item or for the good, right? So it's a little bit more non-custodial than some other solutions.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I think we've been working very hard over the last couple of months. It's been a good partnership with other teams in the ecosystem, like Nova Sama, that is, that make the Nova wallet. And yeah, we're very excited to finally have it out. It's been a lot of work. Yeah, the app is ready to go. We're just pending a few kind of legal loopholes, which yeah, took a little bit longer than expected, but I guess that's life. But yeah, should be available for iOS and Android in the US to start with. We will have some other locations rolling out shortly. Yeah.
Amazing. Looks great. And I noticed no seed. You don't even have to write down a seed phrase. It just uses your Face ID or what, your iCloud account, or
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
the onboarding's amazing.
I think a massive issue in crypto is like that it's very technical and very hard. And I think like if you gave like my mum or a person that was non-crypto related pretty much any of the crypto wallets that exist today, they'd be like, ugh. I mean, so that's why we have no seed phrase. We only have two assets. We have DOT and USDC. There's no transaction signing. So if you go to pay for something or send some money to someone, or you do any of these transactions, there's nothing to sign, because again, that's also kind of like a scary part of crypto. It is a non-custodial wallet, so you can access the seed phrase if you go into settings and go find it. So you can back it up, and you can also bring your seed phrase from another wallet into the app.
Nice.
That works as well. So yeah, it's going to be good. It's heavy focus on simplicity, heavy focus on UX, right?
Awesome. Well, thanks for the update. I'm really looking forward to that. Do you have it? I know you can't give an exact date, but rough ETA?
I mean,
And I'm going to hold you to it.
But I definitely can't give you a date.
No. Okay.
I mean, I think like ideally we were going to try to get it ready for ETH Denver. Unsure if that will still happen. If it doesn't happen, then it'll be very soon after that.
And that reminds me, that's a great thing to point out as well. Polkadot will have a massive presence at East Denver, February 27th to March 2nd, I believe. Come stop by the booth. Follow us on Twitter to see the side events that we're hosting. We have a block space. We have block space mansion. Hacker house, essentially. Yeah. If you are in the APAC region, Polkadot will be at Consensus Hong Kong next week. Tommy will be there. Yeah. Another big event for us. And overall, I think what we just wanted to convey in this live stream was that the Polkadot that you knew from 3 years ago is totally being maybe revamped is the right word to use. So come check out our Discord server. It's been totally redone, a total change of energy, a lot of exciting things happening there. We have an AI generator. We have a new Telegram chat launching soon. Even the things like events like Decoded and the Polkadot Developers Conference, Sub-Zero, totally new formats, totally being reinvented, a total energy shift and vibe shift. What am I missing, guys? And we have the new ambassador program that's all on chain. I mean, which is, I think, first of its kind. If you want to get involved in governance, the best way to do that, I would say, is probably to follow the Kusumerian on Twitter. We do a weekly show on Thursdays called Attempts at Governance. If you watch this show, you'll be completely tuned into everything that's happening on OpenGov. There's just a lot of really exciting things happening. Of course, the Yapper leaderboard, which is why there's a lot of new folks here today. Anything else I'm missing, guys, before we sort of wrap this up? Bill.
So I've got to advertise the new docs.polkadot.com.
There you go.
And I noticed something people asking about, like developer resources. We've done a big revamp. A lot of this thanks to Filippo, who's done a lot of work with moving the wiki over, and also some other people from the technical education team. But yeah, docs.polkadot.com is your new home for docs for Polkadot.
Nice. I'll just put it up on the screen there. Yeah, go ahead.
So the Polkadot wiki is also migrating to MKDocs, which is another like format, standard to like be compatible with the Polkadot docs, and it has been like a big chunk of work for me and Bader, my colleague. So it's almost done. But yeah, for now you can just still type Polkadot wiki, and you can land on the Polkadot wiki. Please do so. There are like good pages about Web3 and for enthusiasts to learn why Polkadot is here and what is the mission and what is the vision. And I think like it's very also important for people that were on Polkadot 2-3 years ago, that Polkadot 2-3 years ago just launched the rollups, the parachain, and these are like businesses and real blockchains that they need time to build and need time to launch their product. So the Polkadot that we have today with these 50 chains fully operational, that they have their own products and their own partnerships. It's Polkadot right now is totally different from 3 years ago, and I think like Polkadot is successful when these rollups, when these like use cases are successful and they collaborate and they solve real world problems, and they gather a little bit of share of the users of Web3. So of course, like it's important to understand this. So I really invite people that were a little bit scared off from the UX and UI of 2-3 years ago to really like take a look again at Polkadot, especially at the mobile wallets, at the extension. Huge effort have been done with Nova Wallet, with Sub Wallet, with Talisman. These great tools that really ease the interaction with Polkadot and parachains.
Nice. And someone just asked over in the chat, how do I find the Discord server? If you just go to polkadot.com, you can see all of the social channels linked there at the bottom. Who would like the final word before we wrap things up here? Who wants to close us off? Tommy?
I just want to say,
let's go Tommy and then go to Berto. How about that? Does that work for everyone?
So one thing, if you just care about the latest news and what's going on and what to yap about on Twitter, check out the Kusumerian, the Friday news pump. It's coming out every Friday. What day is it today? It's Friday. It should be out like around this hour. So Friday news pump is where every week you get the latest news about what's happening in Polkadot and what you can tell your friends about.
Right, and Jay gets a lot of love. I mean, he does just amazing work for this ecosystem. He does a Sunday podcast with people in the ecosystem. The most recent one with Gav. Definitely. Hold on. I got to share my screen here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah, Space Monkeys podcast on Sundays, AAG on Thursdays. There's a new show called Regulatory Rewind on Wednesdays. The Friday News Pump. This is a great place to learn about the Polkadot ecosystem and get some inspiration for things to yap about. Berto, over to you.
I just want to say happy Valentine's Day.
Oh.
And also glad we didn't have a kind of like screen sharing mishap.
Yeah, well, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, we're playing a little bit more safe over here, or at least we try to.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for an impromptu session. let's do it again sometime. There's always exciting stuff happening in Polkadot. Follow the Polkadot Twitter, of course, to be updated with everything. And happy Valentine's Day, guys.
Nice.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.